Welcome to the MuseCast, where we squeeze every last drop of inspiration out of Sunday's sermon.
I think you were trying to catch me off guard, sir.
Well, I didn't want you to choke on anything or anything like that. So,
Yep. I gotcha. Happy Muse Day, Dan Kent.
happy Muse Day.
It's just us two today. That feels a little strange,
It's a little lonely.
a little lonely. But this is what I will say. We won't be here as long.
That's right.
The show will go like the blink of an eye, I'm pretty certain. No, it was really, really great to have Greg with us last week. And it just is so good to, anytime he's on, just to get a sneak peek behind the workings of his beautiful mind. And also, he did have quite a bit of stuff that he wasn't able to share during his sermon. And so he wanted to do that here. And it was good. And I say that to say it, but I'm thankful that the crew is back and we're here, just you and I hanging out.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. You've seen that movie, right?
I have, yes, yeah.
Were you surprised?
You know,
You got to think back, like the very first time.
I feel like I kind of anticipated it, but I wasn't really that into the movie. Like,
Oh, okay.
like people are just, they love that movie.
I love it. I love
Which is
it
weird.
so much.
It's strange because you and I tend to be pretty much on the same page. So
We do, yeah. You guys, I told Dan about how on one of my streaming channels, there is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week Columbo channel. And Dan was just like really enamored with that.
Well, and I wouldn't get anything done. So
No, so it's probably a good thing. It's a good
right?
thing that he doesn't have that. So yeah, it is surprising that we don't see the usual suspects the same way. I loved it. I was like slack-jawed, anyway. I don't want to spoil it in case, is it, 20 years later, someone hasn't seen it. But anyway, all right, it's us. We're here. Dan is feeling good. I don't know.
I'm feeling.
I don't know what I can say.
Well, yeah, I'll just share with everybody.
Okay.
I had a hard night. I had a hard time sleeping last night. So I had some neighbors who were enjoying the end of the summer, and they were up a little late. And frankly, I think that their kids were up a little late too. And they have a golf cart with a horn, and the horn was being honked. And it was after midnight, and I feel that that's too late to be honking a golf cart horn in a neighborhood. But they're great neighbors, and so I tolerated it. But I did not sleep very well, so hopefully I will be coherent today. That's my hope and my prayer.
Well, you have all the grace in the world here because no one should be kept up past their sweet little bedtime of 7:30 p.m.
That's right. That's right. Nothing
by a golf cart.
Nothing good happens after 8 p.m.
That's so true.
Yep.
All right. Well, we are here to talk about, what was it called? What did I call it?
It's your sermon. It's your sermon.
It was called, that's right.
Yeah, you can tell how much work goes into titling these. We're just like, just throw a title on there.
What was it? Inseparable Love. That's what it was called.
Yes.
We are on the tail end of Testify, this latest sub series within Revelation, and so we're looking at chapters 10 and 11. And so this was week 5, and then we've got the conclusion week 6 coming up. I'm very excited, and I will leave that to you to say anything or nothing or something in between about that.
Right.
But we did, yes. So I was up, and it was Revelation 11, verses 1 through 4, after Greg kind of zoomed us through 11, and we had to go back a little bit and dig a little deeper. And I talked about Inseparable Love, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Good.
Wait, what did I talk about?
Yes,
Where was
inseparable. Yeah, you were there. I saw you there. So,
I? Oh, okay.
yes,
Okay, good.
Inseparable Love, and so, well, let me. It was an interesting sermon in that. Well, let me just do the summary, and then I'll say why it's interesting as I'm going through. But this is kind of my kind of creative way of summarizing what you were doing. But I feel like first of all, you did a recap. It's like layers of recap for a book that's full of layers. So the first layer of recap was the whole big series, the Unveiling series, the Book of Revelation itself. You did a little recap of that. And then you did a recap of sort of like, well, how do we interpret this book? And so you talked about 5 things to remember: that the revelation or the unveiling happens in stages. Remember that this is an extended letter to a specific audience, that it's prophecy and it's apocalyptic, and that affects how we interpret it. And it functions as a testimony or a witness for what God is doing in the world. And that the entire thing, everything in this book, ultimately points to the Lamb or Jesus. And so that was sort of a summary or a recap of some of the interpretive things that we've talked about during this series. Then you talked about sort of interpreting the chapter itself that we're in, and then you talked about actually interpreting these particular verses, Revelation 11, verses 1 through 4. Then, as you're doing that, now suddenly you have to start unpacking these symbols, and how do we make sense of all of these symbols? And there's a handful here that you had to kind of work through. And so we talked about the measuring rod that is referred to in the text, and how when John is told to measure, what he's being told to measure is this temple. But since the temple is actually the people of God, this measurement is not just to say, well, when I wrapped a measuring stick around them, it was about 48 feet. No, that's not what it is. It's meant to say, it's meant to carefully assess what's there and what belongs to God. And so that measuring, if you are measured, if you are one of the measured, then you are sealed by God and you belong to God. And then another symbol that is in this passage that's very important is the symbolism of the 2 witnesses. Now, the 2 witnesses in the text, they have all of this authority and power, and what we find is that these 2 witnesses end up being the church. And Greg talked a little bit more about that last week, but you kind of recapped that here. And this church, they have authority, and this church is sort of, its mission or its role is to lead people toward faithfulness and perseverance. And then you talk about with all of this symbolism with the church and the people who belong to God, and the quest for faithfulness and perseverance. This all happens in the context of pretty remarkable persecution. And so you just talked about that persecution a little bit, how that persecution is not permanent. There's going to be an end to that suffering. There's sort of a limit to that, but God's love is not limited. And so that's why we're told in Ephesians 3, just a fantastic verse that you shared, to be rooted and grounded in that love. And because it's really hard to be fulfilled from the outside in this world of persecution, and so it's really important to sort of be filled from the inside out by this inseparable love that we have in God. And then finally, just this sort of encouragement that we get from the Apostle Paul in Romans 8, just reminding us, look, God is for us. And if God is for us, well, then it doesn't matter who is against us. And we are promised this sweeping victory, and nothing will or can separate us from that loving God who promises that victory. And just this final encouragement to remember that the love of God will outlast all enemies. And somewhere in the end there, we had this wonderful wonderful testimony from Patrick about how God has been with him and how he has grown in his faith after kind of incurring this physical accident that he had in 2000. Was it 2006, 2005?
2005.
Yeah. So that is my summary, and really great message. And this we keep plugging along. How do you feel? Do you feel like you left a bunch of stuff out, or do you feel like it came together the way you wanted it to?
I will say, did I leave stuff out? Absolutely. But that was intentional because, and you know this, Dan, when you're looking at a sermon and you're looking at your goals, let's just put it that way, for what you want to be communicated, what you want people to go home with, to get from A to B, that means there's really, it's like to get from A to Q, there's some letters in between that you have to leave out because you won't get to Q, right? So I say all that to say I knew that we wanted to, the team, we had decided that yes, we were going to try to unpack the symbolism of these verses a little more, but that wasn't going to be the whole sermon, that we really wanted to tie it to the suffering piece and God's presence in the midst of suffering. And then, so in order to get there, that means there is some dissecting of the symbolism that you just have to be okay with not diving into. Yeah. Because let me tell you, and I'm sure you've had this experience, like as you're digging through our resources, there are chapters upon chapters of just digging into the symbolism, and not everyone agrees, and everyone has valid points for why they think that this has to symbolize this specifically, and that when you look at the temple, there are people who believe that it symbolizes a certain thing or another thing, but really generally the general consensus is, and certainly the people of the time really did, they were seeing themselves as the temple, which that's what we went with. And so, but there are people that look into the rod and the kind of reed and the river that rod came from. And there are ornate diagrams of the temple and there's just a lot you can really get into. And, so for those who are really, really interested in that, they may feel like it wasn't done justice, but this was just, let's just unpack this a little bit more. But it was really like to get us, it was like an on-ramp to get us to what I felt I wanted the point to be, was God's presence in the midst of the suffering, the persecution, and all of that. So, did I leave stuff out? Absolutely. But I think I needed to, because holy buckets. Yeah, it would have been a different sermon.
Yeah, it's endless with the symbolism. And that's why I really liked the way that you did the sort of layers of recap. And, I think in listening to the sermons too, it's easy to get lost in all of the symbolism, and especially with the sort of circuitous nature of it, where we're going through these cycles of judgment, and it's really the same judgment told from three different perspectives, and it can get a little dizzying. And so I think those recaps are really important. I think that this message sets us up really good for the closing message in this series, because that one is going to be about faithfulness. And really, there's no. I have little hope in people being faithful to God without them really understanding that in this inseparable love. Without that steadfast love as a foundation to be filled with that, as Paul said, I don't have much hope that people, even with that, it's hard to be faithful. So, so I really do think that's like a great kind of building block for what's coming this weekend. So,
good. I'm so excited to hear this weekend and just to see how we cap it all off. I think it's going to be great. I think too, there was an interesting challenge, and I think our MuseCast audience knows that as I'm wrestling with stuff, I like to invite y'all in on my pain. And so, that was part of the reason about the layers of recaps, because like it can get really dense and you can get really in the weeds of it all. And for me, it helps just to kind of take a step back. I think I said coming up for air and just kind of get the big picture and just kind of see how this is all coming together. That just kind of helps me. And then I can dive back in. And so that was the purpose there. And then to talk about persecution, I didn't feel like I could talk about it without acknowledging that a lot of us, not everyone, but a lot of us don't really get it. Like we've not had to, and I'm not to belittle, but I'm not talking about not being able to pray, at a football game. I'm talking about like real, like life and death stuff here. And we just don't have a ton of that. And so I wanted to be honest about that. And, but there are people today that do, and certainly those in the early church did, but we do struggle. And so, I felt like I wanted to bring that dynamic to it. And one thing I was asked today was, like, how did Patrick's testimony, how did that come into play? And let me just say, that wasn't something I planned. Like, that wasn't like, ooh, let me grab, like, we knew that we were doing this series called Testify. And actually our communications team, they were like, you know what, it would be great if we could have like this element within the series. And so our team just kind of thought through, and we all know Patrick, we all know, at least parts of his story. And so we just thought that if he was up for it, that would be a great testimony. And so I was just fortunate and blessed and lucky enough that it fit nicely within my topic within the series. So, yay, winner, chicken dinner, that I got to incorporate that. It was hard though. It was harder than I realized.
Yeah. Well,
so
Well, it's such an emotional testimony. And it's interesting because I realized that I've only known Patrick since after the accident. So I don't maybe if I did know him before, I don't remember it, but I was actually in seminary when that all happened. And so I probably wasn't around the church much at all because I was like in my studies. Yeah. But so it was for me, like I didn't know a lot of that stuff. And I am really, really grateful for him for sharing with the community like that. And he did such a great job. So
beautiful job. Yeah. And to be that vulnerable. And what I think I appreciated most about it was, well, first of all, like I did say, it's personal in so many ways, but when he went down and went out and, as concerned as everyone was, and no one knew the full extent of his injuries, there was still this sense of, oh my goodness, we have a weekend coming and we have children's ministry, and he is, a leader. He's one of the associate pastors within the children's ministry. We just have to divide and conquer, divvy up his responsibilities and just try to get people in there to help so that we can still do this thing that we do for the children on Sundays and at the time and on Saturday, anyway. So that's how I started working at Woodland Hills, was just a temporary basis in the children's area. And so while I knew him before, I really got to know Patrick after and when he did return. And I'm not kidding when I say I've always been inspired by his faithfulness. And I remember some of those prayer meetings. And I think that was the most poignant part was with good hearts. And you and I have talked about this in our personal experiences with prayer before, like with good hearts, people really believing for a miracle, for a healing, and for that not to happen for him yet, and we're over 20 years in. And it was just really powerful to hear him be vulnerable about his struggle with that. And while he never questioned God and God's role in his accident, he did question, like, why not me? Why don't I get healed? But then he has worked through that, and he has still shown himself faithful and known that God is with him. And just to see, the way his family has grown and all of it was just really beautiful. And I'm so thankful for Patrick and his role in our community.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was that was fantastic. So,
Yeah.
well, good. Well,
Yeah.
hey, and it worked really well with the sermon too. It all tied in beautifully, and
Yeah.
especially the series on testifying. And we haven't really talked too much about testimony yet.
Yeah.
And I will be talking about it this weekend. So, but
Yeah. It's
yeah,
coming, folks.
it's
Hang
coming.
on.
Yes, yes, yeah,
We're gonna close it out right. Well, I feel like this series, it's been interesting because it's called Testify, and we kind of know that that's the trajectory that everything is going in, but you just got a lot of stuff to get through to get there. And so I am so looking forward to you speaking to us this weekend, hint hint, and how that is going to close it all out. I think it's going to be really good. And this is a series that I'd say, if you've missed any of them, yeah, go back and listen. And I do feel like these series, they build upon one another because Revelation is so cyclical. And
right.
so it helps just to keep it all like organized in your brain, I think.
Yeah, indeed. Yep.
Awesome. Well, we did actually, shock and awe, we're not fully moving on from Greg's sermon, right? Because we did get a
Yeah.
question after the show and everything. We got a question pertaining to Greg's sermon. And so we probably should have discussed this before
Yeah.
in pre-production, those
Right.
we don't have pre-production, but
That's
do you
right.
want to give it a go? It's hard to answer for Greg, but
Yeah.
are you interested,
Yeah.
Dan, in just giving it a go?
Yeah. Let's give it a shot. I think
All
the
right.
two of us will figure it out.
And by the two of us, you mean you, because
Yeah.
all right, because I'm not even sure. As I'm trying to remember the full context, and so you'll maybe have to help
Yeah.
help me out. But
Mhm.
the question is, why did the people exchange gifts and celebrate their death? Because these two prophets had tormented those who live on the earth. What
Oh, yeah.
about that?
Yeah, so the two witnesses, they end up getting crushed by the beast.
Yeah.
And when that happens, the people are celebrating this and they exchange gifts. And finally, these two loudmouth, trolls, basically, they're gone. And the empire has conquered these loudmouths, and now we can have peace and quiet again. And so they celebrated. And how I understand this, and I haven't talked to Greg about this, but I feel pretty confident that what's really going on there is that the church is a countercultural community. It's the ideology or the worldview of Jesus goes exactly the opposite of a lot of cherished things in life, in the world. And some of the things that we believe about loving our enemies and about not hoarding resources and about striving to build one another up and to love the foreigner and to, there's so many things that you're going to end up with a lot of friction in the world. And telling people to, maybe not be greedy and to maybe not be gluttonous and to maybe get some control over your sexuality and to maybe respect one another and to maybe not gossip and all of these things that we just naturally do. Man, if someone is saying those types of things and you just want to live, the way that the people live, that can be really sharp and it can be obnoxious, and I could understand why, if those voices were removed from the marketplace, that might be something that would be celebrated. And I think that's what it is. It's we bring a countercultural message, and people who are not open to a countercultural message, people who are very, okay with how the culture goes, thank you, they're not gonna want to hear it, and so they'll celebrate it when it is gone. And so that's how I understand it.
Yeah, I think that I have a similar perspective on that. And my understanding is that, yeah, they were preaching and prophesying and sharing a message of repentance and reminding folks like, hey, this is the way, walk in it. And people then, and I venture to say people today are like, you're not the boss of me. Like, back off and let me do my thing. Like, we're very comfortable here in this outer court doing our things, and quit challenging us. And so, but they were faithful with their message unto death. And then we see, though, that the death was not the end, actually, that they are brought back. And through that, then the people are like, oh, hold the phone. Maybe they were up to something. And so a lot did repent. So that's just, that's the way I kind of look at it. I think sometimes when you're being confronted with your stuff, you don't want to hear it. Get out of here with that. And so when that voice goes away, you're like, whoo-hoo. But God had other plans. So
that's right.
Very simplified version of it, but that's my answer.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right.
All right. So we will close out Testify this weekend, and then we'll be back next week to unpack that. So be sure to send in any questions or comments you have. And then we roll right into another series. It will be, Can I say this? It will be one of those interludes from Revelation. Still very relevant, kind of how we carry this stuff out. And then we'll come right back to Revelation. And then, you got Christmas in there. There's just a lot going on, Dan, between now and the end of the year.
That's right. Yeah, the new series is part of our discipleship series, and it's called Love Is. And we're going to be looking at 1 Corinthians 13, and I'm looking forward to that series. So
yeah, it's going to be good. All right, Dan Kent, I think we need to get you to a nap. No, I'm kidding. I think that we have done Inseparable Love. Why can't I remember my own title?
I don't know.
I think we have done.
It's baffling.
It is baffling. It is baffling. But I think we've done its service, and I think we've talked about it, and we might have to circle back because sometimes questions come in after the show, and that's A-okay. But all that to say, we wanted to save some time, because we didn't have time last week, and y'all missed it, and you're all been clamoring for it, and that is Dan in particular, his Nugget Time dance.
Woo-hoo!
Nugget Time. He stood up for you guys and everything. So, do you want a nugget first, or do you want a nugget last?
I'll let you decide, since it's your sermon. It's your sermon, so I can do either one.
Okay, well then you nugget first.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Well, this might be sort of a cheating nugget, but I'm going to read a verse, and it goes. Well, I'm going to read the little context. Jesus says, "Do you believe? Do you now believe?" And Jesus then says, "A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will all be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone. Yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me." And then here's the key verse. "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble.
Will have trouble.
But take heart, for I have overcome the world." Now, you didn't actually mention this verse in your sermon, so it's kind of cheating to use this as the nugget.
But I didn't do the whole thing. I just did the negative part.
And I added the front half just to give it some context, and to also hopefully get away with this nugget because I didn't have anything else.
It's all right.
But I do think that this is such a great verse for your message, because I think that it's that inseparable love that allows us to have this peace that he's referring to during this time of trouble. You will have trouble, but he's still there with peace. He says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. And he doesn't stop. I don't even think he inhales. He goes right from you will have peace to you will have trouble. And this idea that we can have both trouble and peace simultaneously, that they are not in conflict with one another if we are in Christ, to me is really comforting and encouraging. And I think that inseparable love is at the heart of that.
Yeah, that's good, Dan.
Nugget.
I love it. Bringing up the VIP nugget.
That's
I love it. I love it. Our MuseCast verse. So my nugget, it is, again, of course, tied to what you said. And the thing that I have been continuing to reflect on is how many people I've come across in my life and, in years of ministry and stuff, who that peace that you speak of and that being rooted and grounded and just having that assurance is so something that is not a reality for so many. And I say that because it feels like they question God's love for them depending on what's going on around them. And what I really wanted to communicate, and what I want to communicate with this nugget is like, God's love is the through line. That is the constant. That is the unshakable force. Now, circumstances and situations and other people in our lives and places and time and governments and blah, all of that, that's not the through line. That's not what's unshakable and steady, because all of that, man, it can be a bit wacky and wonky. It could be a bit fickle. But what isn't fickle, what isn't wacky or wonky is God's love. And so whether, things are going your way, yes, God loves you. And when things appear not to be going your way, guess what? God loves you. It's not, God is not some big bully in the sky, ready to thwap us on the forehead whenever we mess up. And his love isn't conditional. He doesn't say, do it my way or else I withhold love from you. And I just really want people to fully grasp that. I think it's something that we give mental assent to a lot. And then we find ourselves wondering, where are you, God, when we're in the midst of a struggle? And the answer to that is he's right there with us, right in the middle of it. And when you're hurting, he doesn't say, oh, good, maybe now they'll learn their lesson. That's not the heart of God. When you're hurting, when I'm hurting, when we're hurting, he's hurting with us. And his love can sustain us because his love is there. It's solid. And so I just want people to remember that. I loved how the songs that we sang on Sunday combined with the sermon, combined with the testimony. I just feel like it all worked together really nicely as like a big megaphone, like God loves you. And that is truer than true. It is constant. It is not flaky. It isn't waffle. And so I want people to know that. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. He has overcome the world. So we're good. All right. You back with me?
I'm back. Did I disappear?
No, you were I think you were muted. And so I didn't want to.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, here's what I was doing. Let me just tell you. It was tough to manage because I was hovering over to switch back to the dual screen because that's where we're at now, because we're at the end of the show. And then I realized, I'm still on mute. So I had to swing my mouse down like an Indiana Jones kind of thing to hit the mute button and then get back up to go to the view. So it's a complicated job here,
It is. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on right now, and but I'm just trying to stay focused, and we'll get through it.
You are the production team, Dan. You just got so much you got to do there.
That's right. The show is complicated.
Well, hey, one more thing I'm going to ask of you. If folks do have questions or comments that they want us to, where on earth would they? Can you?
Let's put it down here.
Oh, okay.
Put it right down there.
Let's do that. MuseCast at whchurch.org. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. You don't want to miss this weekend when Dan closes out the series. I'll let him remember his own title. We both know I never will. So come back next week and see what that will be. And until then, have a wonderful week. Take care, everyone.